The present progressive tense, also known as the present continuous tense, is used to express the actions that are in progress at the time of speaking and the temporary actions. English uses the verb be and the ing form of the main verb. For example, I am speaking. In this video, we are going to learn how to use the present progressive tense in Kazakh. In Kazakh, the present progressive tense is formed by adding the converb suffix up to the main verb and the auxiliary verbs otur, tur, жатыр, жүр, taking personal endings. Simply put, a main verb takes converb up and auxiliary verbs otur, tur, жатыр, жүр, taking personal endings. For example, men сөйлеп жатырмын. I am speaking. Here, the main verb is söyle, to speak, which takes the converb up. The auxiliary verb жатыр takes first person singular ending mın. Likewise, in ол көріп тұр. He or she is watching. The main verb is kör, to see, which is attached by the converb up, and the auxiliary verb tur is in the third person singular form, which has no endings. In fact, the auxiliary verbs otur, tur, жатыр, жүр have lexical meanings. In particular, otur means to sit, tur means to stand, жатыр means to lie, and жүр means to walk or to move. However, when they are used to indicate the present progressive tense, they do not retain their lexical meanings. On the contrary, they are fully grammaticalized, indicating grammatical meaning, such as English going to do something, where go doesn't contain its lexical meaning. Before starting the present progressive tense, I think it is necessary to clarify a few things, such as what is a converb and what is its function and when do we use it. Converb, also known as gerund, is a non-finite verb that acts as an adverb. In English, gerunds are verbs in the present participle form or verb stem in the ing form. For example, apologizing to them is important to me. Here, apologizing is a gerund, but Kazakh converbs or gerunds are very different from those in English. The converb has different functions in Kazakh grammar. First of all, a converb can function as a conjunction linking two clauses or verbs. For example, Murat kelip Asqar ketdi. Murat came and Asqar went. In this example, up links two clauses expressing the meaning and. Likewise, Hasan естіп күлді. Hasan listened and left. The converb up links two verbs functioning as conjunction and. Second of all, a converb can function as an adverbial subordinator used in adverbial clauses. In this case, it corresponds to English when, because, after, before, while, and so forth. For example, жауын жауып жарыс күшінен қалдырылды. The match has been cancelled because it is raining. Depending on the context, here the converb up can be interpreted as an adverbial subordinator because. Thirdly, converb can join two verbs to create a new verb. For example, alып кел, to bring, where the verbs al, to take, and kел, to come, are joined by the converb up to form a new verb, to bring. In сатып al, to buy, the verb sat, to sell, and the al, to take, are linked by converb up to yield a new verb, to buy. Finally, converb can combine two verbs to indicate a grammatical function, in which the second verb is grammaticalized, so it doesn't retain any lexical meaning. In grammar, this construction is called an auxiliary verb construction that can indicate different tense, aspects, and actionality. For example, ол жазып отыр. He or she is writing. today's topic, the present progressive, belongs to this final function of the converbs. By the way, there are many converbs in Kazakh. We will learn them one by one. While expressing the present progressive, all the main verbs take the converb markers p, up, ip that manifest the assimilation of vowels and consonants. Namely, if the verb ends in a vowel, you use p. For example, o'qib жүрміз, we are reading. Qarab turmuz, we are looking. If the verb ends in a consonant with a back syllable, it should be up. For example, айтып отырмын, I am telling. A stem ending in a front syllable consonant, it is ip. For example, көріп жатырмын, I am watching. As you can see from the previous examples, the personal markers are attached to the auxiliary verbs. The personal markers used after auxiliary verbs are the same as in the present tense. If you are not familiar with the present tense, please watch the video, link below. The conjugation of the auxiliary verbs otur, tur, жатыр, жүр is shown in the following table. There are some exceptions. Two verbs, bar, to go, and kill, to come, take the converb marker a, e, while combining with the auxiliary verb jat to express the present progressive. For example, бара жатырмын, I am going. келе жатырмын, I am coming. It should be noted that the converb up can combine with those two verbs, bar, to go, and kill, to come, taking auxiliary verb jat, but the meaning is different. For instance, барып жатыр, they are going one after another. келіп жатыр, they are coming one after another. At this point, you might ask, how can I choose the auxiliary verbs and when can I use otur, tur, жатыр or жүр? The answer is that it is your call. You can use whichever you want to use. I can give you a little heads up. You can always use жатыр, which is the most active among those four verbs, and it can combine with most of the as well, being used often in spoken language. In spoken language, up жатыр is synchronized or shortened to up ad form. An example, не істеп жатырсың, what are you doing, is a written form, while не істеватсың, what are you doing, is a slang. There are two different ways to negate the present progressive tense. In the first way, the negation is expressed by adding the suffix my, may, by, be, and pi, pay to the main verb, and the personal endings still come after the auxiliary verbs. The negative suffix my, also called it negative converb, is the object of the vowel and the consonant's assimilation. For instance, söylemей жатыр, he or she is not speaking, in which the main verb is söyle, to speak, that takes negative suffix my, the auxiliary verb жатыр takes third person ending. More examples. Айтпай тұрсыңдар, you are not telling. істемей жүрміз, we are not working. жазбай отырмын, I am not writing. ішпей отыр, he or she is not drinking. The second way of negating the action is by adding converb up to the main verb and adding participle ған to the auxiliary verb plus жоқ, not, or non-existent, taking the personal endings. For instance, мен жазып отырған жоқпын, I am not writing. Here the main verb is jaz, to write, that takes the converb up. The auxiliary verb otur takes the participle ған, and the negation жоқ takes the first person singular ending. By the way, the participle marker ған has four alternatives such as ған, ген, and қан, кен. There are more examples to show the conception. Біз көріп тұрған жоқпыз, we are not watching. Ол оқып жүрген жоқ, he or she is not reading. Сендер біліп жатқан жоқсыңдар. You are not learning or understanding. The negation is summarized in the following table. Personal endings after жоқ is same with those of after auxiliary verbs. The present progressive tense can be used when the action is taking place at the time of speaking. For example, biz тамақ ішіп отырмыз. We are eating. Қазір уақытым болмай тұр. I don't have time right now. Не деп тұрсың өзің? What are you talking about? Мен қызмет іздеп жүрмін. I am looking for a job. Сіңлім университетте оқып жатыр. My younger sister is in college or is attending college. Those are for today. I hope you enjoyed the video and as always, thank you for watching.